Welcome to another edition of the Let's Be Frank show. As you know, this show tries to inform the public as to things that are going on in town and some services that are provided. And with that, my guest this evening is Donna Carter, who's the Executive Director of the Greater New Haven Transit District. And Donna is going to tell us tonight. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you.
And she's going to talk about, I guess first we'll just... The easy question is, what does the agency and service provide for the public?
Well, thank you for having me here today. It's really a pleasure, and I'm delighted to be able to give some information to the residents of the area about the transit district. Transit districts exist in Connecticut by state statute. There are about 13 in the whole state. The state's divided up into different areas. Some provide both fixed route transportation and what's called paratransit, which is transportation for individuals with disabilities. We in New Haven provide only the paratransit service because the state of Connecticut contracts with Connecticut Transit to provide the big buses, the fixed route service. So our service is limited to providing service for individuals with disabilities and for seniors. I don't like to say elderly anymore, and I'm not too sure what the right term is. We're still looking for a term that really works well. So we have two major large services. One is called the ADA service, which is specifically set aside for individuals who for some reason cannot take the fixed route bus. That can be a physical disability that limits them. It could be a cognitive problem, an emotional problem. They have difficulty with the crowded bus, or they perhaps don't understand the system. So any of those reasons would make them eligible for our service, for the ADA service. Additionally, we have a service called Regional Rides. This is a service that is funded by the state of Connecticut, and it was put in place because the state recognized that there really wasn't enough service for the senior population. And that service is open to anybody over the age of 60, and it also is open to people with disabilities.
Okay, so this comes out of, just for my benefit, this comes out of New Haven, or it services different towns? Obviously, it services North Branford and Northford.
Absolutely.
Or you probably wouldn't be here.
That's right. We actually service 19 towns in the region. And when you call to schedule a trip with us, you can travel from Branford or Northford to any of those areas that we serve. And it's a door-to-door service. We come, the vehicle comes, the driver gets out of the vehicle, goes to your door, and assists you into the vehicle.
Oh, okay. So it's not just in North Branford.
No.
I can call you from North Branford and say I need to go to Guilford or.
Guilford is they're limited, but there's area that we go to, New Haven, North Haven, West Haven. I could name all 19, but we'd be here for a while. But we go as far out as Milford, Wallingford. We touch into Wallingford, Waterbury, West Haven.
And this is just door-to-door service for an individual?
Correct.
It's not like a bus route that comes through
No.
North Branford and says, okay, at 3 o'clock you can pick up this bus that gets you to West Haven or something.
No, it's a door-to-door service. You do have to go through a process whereby we have a form that you fill out, and then we do a face-to-face interview to determine whether or not you are actually eligible for the ADA service. As with the senior services, as long as you have a driver's license or some documentation that shows that you're over the age of 60, then you're eligible for that. And then once you get that set, you get a card. You can call, give us your ID number, and we will schedule the trip for you.
And what's the difference between the senior service and the AD service? Okay, so I'm over 60. I'm not over 60, but I look over 60. But if I am over 60, and what would be the difference in the services?
If you're over 60 and you have no disability that prohibits you from using the fixed route, then you would fall into what we call our regional ride service. And that service is available but limited to trips that involve work, adult daycare, medical appointments, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays we do shopping trips.
So if I'm over 60 and I have a job in West Haven and I live in North Branford, I can get a ride to that job?
You can. We have that funding is somewhat limited, so we limit the number of trips that we schedule per day in that service to 75. So once we have 75 reservations in there, then we cut that off because we don't have any more funding available. But if you are an ADA rider, Americans with Disabilities Act rider, we are not allowed by federal law to deny trips for the ADA. So those trips we provide for everybody.
Okay. Now I went over questions briefly before the show, but I tend to ask questions in the middle that
That's
pop
okay.
into my head because
Okay.
my head gets little crazy sometimes. Is there a fee? Is there a charge to? I know you're funded, but is there a charge for the people as well to help offset the funding?
Yes, the charge is $3 each way. So you know it's
And that's both ADA and
they are the same.
for the seniors.
Yes.
Okay. And how many? I mean, would you have an estimate of how many people actually use this in North Branford and Northford, or even total? But
Well, what I can tell you is that we have, in last year, we did about 12,000 trips in North Branford. Now, I'm not sure, in Branford and North Branford, I'm not
Right.
sure about the number of people that we serve, but that's approximately the number of trips that we did last year.
Now, eventually, and I don't know, I don't look at the screen, but they're going to show up the obviously your name and who you are, but also the there it is right there, the website
Right.
that people can go to, and that'll pop up every once in a while, that people can go to if they feel that they need this service or.
Yes, you definitely can go to our website. You can download the certification form and fill that out and get that back to us. It also has information about the various services that we provide. We have another smaller service that's funded by the state of Connecticut, which is really kind of interesting and I think might be useful for some of your folks out here in Branford and North Branford. It's a taxi benefit that we have, that we work with Metro Taxi, and you can send us up to $50, and then we will match that $50 with another $50, and you'll get a cab card, and you can use that to pay for your cab rides. So we kind of encourage people to do that because it really gives you something you can fall back on in an emergency. If we can't get to you, if you have to take a trip suddenly, because our trips have to be scheduled a day in advance. So if something happens in the moment, then you could use that card to call a cab and be transported by the cab.
Right. Now, you mentioned there's a limit to 75 a day. Okay, I'm 60 and I have a job in West Haven. Now, is there a limit for me personally? Can I get a ride every day if I schedule it in advance, or
if you slip in there before everybody else, before we hit that 75, you can ride as often as you want.
Okay.
We don't have any limit on the number of rides that an individual can take.
And the ADA, now I saw, I work part-time in the morning in a security, as well, they call it a security guard. I don't secure much, but don't tell my bosses. Okay. Does the bus, the vehicle that comes to pick up someone with a disability, can they house if the person has to travel with a nurse or things like, or an aide or?
Absolutely, all of our vehicles are wheelchair equipped. There's a lift so that you can, even if you're wheelchair bound, we will transport you. The fee is $3, but if you require a personal care attendant, that person travels for free. So we make allowances for those situations where someone is not able to travel unless they have another individual with them. You can also take a companion, but if it's a companion, then they have to pay the fare. So.
Because I don't know what my mother used. I mean, it was 25 years ago and my mother was disabled. But we actually had to ride separately. And they would, and I again, I don't know if it was this service or a different service, but they would pick her up because we couldn't get her in and out of the vehicle.
Right.
And they would help her get in the vehicle and everything, but we couldn't ride on the vehicle. We had to follow to the treatment or whatever she was getting.
Right.
And again, I don't know what service it was.
Well, this came in. This all follows the regulations based in the Americans with Disabilities Act, and I think that really codified a number of those kinds of issues that people were having. So I believe that's where the personal care attendant piece came into existence, so that they recognized that some people really needed to have that other individual with them as they traveled. So
I'm going to jump around a little. What actually is your function as the executive director? I mean, what
well, I sort of direct executively.
Yeah, right.
Everybody. It's an I primarily function as the individual that provides oversight for the whole agency. We have a deputy director who actually gets more involved with the day-to-day operational pieces of the agency. One of my favorite things about the job that I do is when I can get out there and meet the people that we transport. We go to some of the facilities where we have heavy usage and really meet the folks and get to know them a little bit. And we've got some wonderful people that ride with us, and it's a joy.
I like the way you said you direct exec. I used to be a general manager. When people used to come in and ask me questions, I tell them I don't deal in specifics. I just deal in generals. If you need specifics, go to somebody who knows something about that.
Right.
So, and how long has this been in? Because I don't think a lot of, I didn't know any, I'll be honest with you, one of our board of directors on the Totoket TV station, Mary Bigelow, and she'll probably yell at me for mentioning her name, said when I was looking for different people to have on the show, so why don't you have, is it My Ride? Is it?
Our service is kind of referred to as My Ride. Folks kind of recognize that. Yes, it's the it's the Greater New Haven Transit District, but that's how we refer.
Because
to
I
it.
see the pamphlets in different stores and stuff. But if you don't need the service, you don't pick it up until you need the service, and then you go, I don't have the pamphlet in front of me because I didn't think I was going to need the service.
Right.
But how long have they been, and have they always been in North Branford and Northford, or is that a recent?
Well, we've always been in Branford. We had an interesting, North Branford came into the district in a kind of an interesting, it's a nice story. I got a call from somebody one day, and she said, my son has to go to work in North Branford, and you don't go there, so how do I get him to go to work? And I said, well, if you can get North Branford to join the district, then we could certainly do that. And she was a real advocate for her son, and she got out there and started knocking on doors and making telephone calls, and pretty soon I got a call from whoever is it a mayor in North Branford, first elected?
We have a mayor, but we also have a town manager who sort of runs the show.
Right, and actually, and Joanne Wentworth was wonderful.
Okay,
for years.
she was the mayor for a long time.
It might have been Joanne when this all happened, and North Branford joined the district, and then we could take this young man back and forth to work. And the second piece of the story is that a few years later, I got a call from this young man, and he said, "Hi, Donna. They closed the place where I work, so I wondered if you might have a job for me." And we, in fact, did find a job for him, and he's still working with us.
Wow. We should have had him on the show.
You should have had him on the show. He would have been a great...
Yeah, Joanne's done a lot. As a matter of fact, she was the mayor for a long time. She's the deputy mayor now. And matter of fact, a few days ago, I attended her 80th birthday party that some of her friends threw, and
that's great.
but she's still going strong. She's still involved in everything under the sun, and asked her kids when she's going to slow down. They don't listen.
Never.
She doesn't listen to me.
No.
So she does what she wants. So
that's great.
Her name pops up a lot on different things
does.
that have started down the road. And you mentioned you like to, meet the people who are using. What do you do to enhance the experience to make it a better, not that I don't know because I've never used it, so it might have been better right from the start.
Well, you can always get better, and we're always working to try and think of ways to make it more comfortable for folks, make it more convenient for folks. We have we put in place about a year ago some new technology to do our scheduling, and it was a little bit of a bump bumpy ride, I have to tell you. We had a lot of difficulties with it, but we're starting to iron that out. It incorporates things like a call, an automated call the night before to remind you of your trip. We've just started a pilot program in a particular area of the service area to call 15 minutes before the vehicle arrives, so that you are there and ready to go when the vehicle gets there, and some other technical things. But in addition to that, one of the new initiatives at the agency is to get back to remembering that that person on the other end of the phone has issues that they have to deal with, and we need to be cognizant of that and empathetic about it. We walk kind of a fine line between being a transportation company and being a social service company. Mm-hmm. So we're always trying to balance those two things, being an efficient transportation company, but not forgetting that the folks that we serve sometimes can't get to the bus in 2 seconds. You've got to wait a little bit for them to come. And we also have to operate under the regulations and the rules of the Americans with Disabilities Act for those trips. One of those is that we can only wait for 5 minutes for someone to be there. So we hope that this new technology that we're using that calls people ahead of time will eliminate some of those difficult times when we've had to leave someone. So.
And did they go back and get them, or?
If the individual is out in the community, we will go back and we will get them. We will never leave anyone stranded. If we didn't get them at their home, we won't go back.
Right. Like, for instance, I know, and I think this is what you use it for. One of the offices in the building that again, I keep referring to this building as a secureless guard, but they have a doctor's office now, and I know sometimes people will come and they'll call. Now, can they just, I've seen a woman do it where they get dropped off and they don't know how long they're going to be there, and then they call for the pickup back.
Yes, when they call to schedule the trip, we ask them to estimate when they think they might be finished. But that is particularly with doctors. It doesn't always happen in that particular time frame, and then we will come when they call, and as soon as we can get there.
Right, and so you're doing that to enhance some things. What projects are you working on now, just for?
Well, we are working very hard to kind of beef up our customer service department. We've got bringing in some new folks, trying to get that whole idea across that when you answer the phone, I want people to hear that you have a smile on your face and are caring and empathetic about people. We're very concerned about the future. As you know, and I'm sure all your listeners know, we've got a huge demographic coming down the road here at us of people growing older. We have funding from the state, but I'm not sure the funding is going to really be there for the increase in the demand for our service. So about a year ago, we implemented a subsidiary organization that is a 501c3, a nonprofit. It's called the GNHTD Foundation, and we are doing some projects with that.
It's right there. Look at that, just as
and
you
they're
said
perfect.
Is our director amazing?
He's amazing, and I'm so impressed. So the foundation, the first project that we have implemented is something called It Makes Sense. Can I do that?
You can do it. They probably won't see it. But
oh, there we go. Maybe you can't see it.
They're seeing the headlines.
Okay. In January of this year, the fare for our service went from $2.60 to $3. For many of the people that we serve, $3 that 40 cents really becomes a challenge. And one of the examples I always give is dialysis. We had people that travel 3 times a week to dialysis.
That's what my mother was using it for.
Okay, so you know. So that means that the trip that used to cost $2.60 each way now costs them $3 each way. And if they're living on a fixed income, this can mean a difference between taking your medication and eating for some people. So we implemented this program called It Makes Sense, and we're out in the community and we're asking the community to throw your loose change into a bucket or into an envelope or whatever and send it to us. We're going to work. We were just so lucky to get Liberty Bank and Brazzi's restaurant in New Haven to be kind of our premier sponsors. Brazzi's is donating a portion of the proceeds from a particular time period to this project, and Liberty Bank has little buckets in their bank branches for people to throw their loose change in, and we're hoping to get enough money so that we can roll that fare back to $2.60.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Do we have buckets in North Branford yet?
I don't think we do have buckets in North Branford yet, but we certainly are going to. We're out there making contacts with various organizations to see if they will allow us to do that.
Well, that's good. It's a good thing, because even with you mentioned, I'm back into the customer service.
Yeah.
It's funny. My wife has she switched hairdressers for some reason, and it drives me nuts. But it's customer service, and they call a week in advance to tell her, to remind her about her appointment, and then the night before.
Yep.
And my wife doesn't really use the answering machine, so I have to go, babe, do you know you have an appointment tomorrow? and it's like, they don't have to call a week in advance. They could just go. But it's funny because that's what it's like. Wow, these people really, they're really here to help you. They're, because people running around. I mean, obviously, even the elderly people, sometimes you get a doctor's appointment, and I don't think I qualify as an elderly person yet, but I have a lot of doctor's appointments. I guess I'm in there, and you're sitting there, and all of a sudden you say, geez, tomorrow I got an appointment.
Absolutely.
And it's good for to help these people out. So what future projects do you have? You mentioned some of the ones you're working on now.
Right.
Before I get into that, I'll let you think about that for a minute. Now, the state funds this.
That's right.
And with the way things are going in the state, you never know if, probably be suicide for them to stop funding it. But what are the people, what does the public have to do besides throwing 40 cents in a bucket to help,
Well, the state of Connecticut is required by law to provide the ADA service. That has to be provided. It's a law. The regional ride service, and which really is directed more toward the elderly population, which is the one we're really kind of worried about. That is less so. So we're very concerned about that, and have an additional program that we're starting with our foundation called Art on the Move. And Art on the Move is going to consist of an art project where we're going to have some local artists develop some projects, and we're going to put those on the vehicle. We're going to actually wrap the vehicle with those art projects, and then we will have sponsors for the art. And that money will go toward adding additional trips onto the regional rides program so that we can continue it. All of our operating money comes from the state of Connecticut. We do get federal capital money to buy our vehicles.
Okay.
So we are funded somewhat by the state, by the federal government, and then each of the 10 towns that are members of the transit district pay annual dues to the transit district, and that helps to augment that service as well.
Okay, so the town pays money to
the town annually pays us.
So now you're even relying in certain towns, if a town budget comes up and says, we don't have the money for this, now they have to pay for or it's just, they're just paying for the whole service. They're not paying for the ADA or the...
No, they're not paying for anything specifically.
Right.
What they're doing is paying to be a member of the transit
Right.
district, which enables them to have that capability of traveling in that whole region because they're members of that regional transit district.
So if the town is going on a budget and they say, okay, this year we got to cut this out, then the
it
town
could jeopardize
is
the trips.
stuck with
Absolutely.
with what's going on.
Right.
So future plans, we'll get back to...
Right. Well, we're looking ahead. We're in the process of looking for some land to build a new facility because we currently live in two different places because we don't have enough room in the facility that we bought in 2000. Outgrew it very quickly. So we are hoping to find, and it's not easy to find a big space of land. We need about 7.5 acres, 8
Wow.
acres. So that's a little tricky. We want to be able to park all of our vehicles inside so we don't have to worry about the snow in the wintertime. It becomes a big, big job to clean all of those vehicles off before they go out on the road. So last winter was a real bear. So we're doing that. Very exciting and interesting process with the federal government putting some of the money in to buy that. We're also looking at how we can adjust and change the way that we run the schedules so that we can get better at that, more efficient. We've asked the state of Connecticut to allow us to increase our fleet size by 6 vehicles because we really are so tight with our vehicles. We're also implementing 2 smaller vehicles into our fleet. They're called MV1s. They're small. They almost look like that. Well, they are the same vehicles that the cab company uses that are wheelchair accessible. And we're going to put 2 of those in our fleet. This was particularly driven by the difficulties we sometimes have with dialysis patients. When they come off of the dialysis machines, sometimes they really don't feel well, and to wait for our vehicles and then have to ride around while they maybe drop off other people before they get to them, it's really not a comfortable situation. So these smaller vehicles would allow us to maybe do a better job for them.
Okay, so the if you need one of these services that we've discussed, again, my guest is Donna Carter, and they have had phone, email addresses, and her information on the screen. And if you need these services, then you're more than welcome to
Absolutely.
to look up one of those places and call the services and help out. We got about 3 minutes. He's telling me in my ear. So
3
if you have
minutes?
something you
Oh,
want to,
boy.
I told you it goes by just like that.
It
So
sure
if
does.
you want to hit on something else before we wrap up.
Well, I would encourage anyone that is interested in just finding out more about the service to call. We'd be more than happy to talk to anyone that's interested. Also, if there are facilities here in the area that might like to have somebody come out and talk to them, the senior centers, or if there are adult daycare centers or anything like that, be more than happy to do that.
All right, because we do have a senior center, obviously, in town.
Sure.
And, that would be a great thing. And send me some information. We'll run some public announcements in the paper if you
That would be
if
great.
you'd like, to let them know
would be
that when your buckets are ready to come out. 'Cause
Okay.
there's buckets all over. There'll be a lineup at some of our stores of the different buckets that.
That'll be the next thing. That would be the last thing I would ask. If you got spare change, put it aside for us.
Okay, hold it aside until the
Hold
buckets
it aside until the
get
buckets get there, right?
All right. Okay, so that wraps it up, I guess, and I thank you for being here
you so much
this
for having
afternoon,
me.
and
Appreciate it.
I thank our director, Michael Valenti, who puts those things up like magic on the screen. And until next show, be careful, be safe, and we'll see you down the road.